Last had this author on, Edward Klein, when his last book was out, The Amateur, Barack Obama in the White House. The follow-up is here. It is Blood Feud, the Clintons versus the Obamas. He is Edward Klein. He is with us right now. And number 3 right now in books at Amazon.com. But there's some interest in this, huh?
Yes, there is, Scott, and thank you so much. It's just gone right up to the top, and Hillary's book is sinking like a stone in water.
Yeah. Well, look, the first question, as I read through the book, it's really incredible, the stories you're able to get, the people you're able to get, with on-the-record type quotes. How do you do it? How do these sources stay hidden when you've got two of the most powerful families in the country involved?
Well, that's a question that I'm frequently asked. How do I get these sources? And the answer is twofold. Number one, I've been at this business, journalism, for a long time and following the Clintons very closely for the last 10 years. So I have a fantastic Rolodex of Clinton sources.
Mm-hmm.
They talk to me for basically 2 reasons. One, to brag about how close they are to the Clintons, which they love to do because people love to brag about their access. And 2, because they want to get their side of the story out. And so these sources have been very available to me.
So the last book was called The Amateur, based on what Bill Clinton, how he described President Obama. And others have said that too, but Clinton said it behind closed doors and sometimes in open doors. There had to be some kind of reconciliation because Bill Clinton helped the president get reelected. His huge speech at the convention. But now this one's called Blood Feud. So we've switched back again, have we?
We have, and you know what happened, quite simply, Scott, is that Bill Clinton and Barack Obama played golf together in September of 2011 when Barack Obama's poll numbers were in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked Bill Clinton for his support in his reelection campaign. And Clinton struck a deal with him that he would give Obama support in return for Obama giving Hillary support in 2016. The deal was made, and Clinton made good on the deal. He gave that fantastic speech at the Democratic National Convention in August of 2012,
mm-hmm.
after which Barack Obama got elected and then reneged on the deal. And Clinton, of course, has been furious ever since.
So what do you think is most likely as we approach 2016? Does President Obama, perhaps, this has gone back and forth. Does he go back and perhaps honor the deal and get behind his former Secretary of State? Does he get behind his vice president, who seems like he wants to run, or does he stay out completely?
Well, there's a lot of speculation about this, and I've spoken to a number of people about it. Obama would like nothing better than finding someone to challenge Hillary in the primaries for the Democratic nomination. There's talk that he's looking for somebody like himself, which some people refer to as a Obama mini-me, somebody coming from out of nowhere who could challenge Hillary from the left wing of the party. I think might find it hard to find somebody like that, but Obama clearly would like to remain as the head of the Democratic Party after he leaves the White House, and he certainly doesn't want the Clintons to push him aside in that role.
Edward Klein is with us. His book, Blood Feud, The Clintons versus the Obamas. It's available all over the place today. It's also linked up on our Twitter feed right now, too, if you want to take a look. One of the biggest blow-ups, it appears, between Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, and former President Clinton getting involved in this, too, is the Benghazi scandal and the cover-up. How did this play out?
Well, Hillary, during the attack on our Benghazi consulate, was the single most knowledgeable person in Washington about what was going on because she was given periodic updates by the head of the CIA, David Petraeus, by Tom Donilon, who is, or at the time was, Obama's national security advisor, and even by the deputy ambassador in Libya. So she really knew what was going on, knew it was a terrorist attack, and she got a call at 10 o'clock that night from the president saying that he wanted her to put out a statement from the State Department saying that it was a video demeaning the Prophet Muhammad that caused this spontaneous demonstration. She was stunned. She called her husband, Bill Clinton, who was in Little Rock at the time, and told him about it. And he said, "You can't say that because you know it's not true."
Mm-hmm.
And then they discussed whether she perhaps should resign as Secretary of State rather than say that. And they decided that if she resigned and hurt Obama's chances for re-election, the Democratic Party would never forgive her. And so she had no choice but to go ahead with this lie, which, of course, she did, and she repeated it again and again and again, knowing full well at the time that it was untrue.
Edward Klein with us, his book, Blood Feud. It's Riley and Scott on WROK. So she obviously knows it's still a problem. She spent most of her week on the book tour either distancing or saying, "I don't remember this," or "I don't know who was there at that point." But this IRS scandal could be former President Clinton thinks this is the one, right? This is the one that really could be a huge problem. And I would tend to agree, actually.
I do, too. And Clinton has told his close associates, whom I've spoken to, that he thinks the IRS scandal, as he's said in public, by the way, is a scandal, and that it hits home with every single American because everyone pays taxes to the IRS, and they're disgusted by the way the IRS has handled this scandal. And it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And Hillary has made it clear that she thinks there should be an investigation, which really separates her from Barack Obama and his people who are trying to cover it up.
I want to come back to Hillary in a bit, but on the president, he's got a little more than 2 years left in office. And people are now saying, was it Chuck Todd earlier this week saying this presidency is over because of some of the approval numbers? The president, what Valerie Jarrett called him, the bear who was on the loose. He keeps trying to escape the White House. He said to some fundraisers, if the Democrats lose the Senate, I don't really want to be president anymore. And that was certainly a way to juice up the base. But still, is this a guy that is looking for an exit door or looking forward to an exit door?
Well, everything that Barack Obama is doing these days, including giving amnesty to these underage kids who are coming across the border, his war on coal,
mm-hmm.
his refusal to okay the pipeline from Canada to the United States, and you can go on and on and on. Everything is an effort to get his base excited and come out during the 2014 midterm elections so that he doesn't lose the Senate. Because if he does, and I think there's a very good chance he may, the last 2 years of his administration are going to be a complete disaster because he's not going to have control of either the House or the Senate, and he will not be able to get anything done.
Edward Klein with us, author of the new book, Blood Feud, The Clintons versus the Obamas, available everywhere today. Riley and Scott on WROK. The First Lady, Michelle Obama, is a very ambitious person, comes off as such in the book, and there's been various rumors here about what she might do after being First Lady. Run for office, not run for office. It impacts us here in Illinois because I know there's ambition, there's talk about running for the U.S. Senate from here, from Illinois. What do you hear from your sources?
I hear from my sources that Michelle, and her best friend Valerie Jarrett, who is the most important advisor in the White House, have been talking about her creating an exploratory committee to look into her run against Mark Kirk, who, as you know, of course, is the senator from the Republican senator from Illinois, who had a stroke in 2012. And they're giving some very serious thought to that. Now, her friends, Michelle's friends, tell me that by temperament, she's really not suited for politics because she's a very caustic individual, cynical, doesn't like the give and take of politics. But they've been talking about it, and I don't think she's made up her mind yet whether to run. But certainly Barack has been if I may call the President Barack Obama, has been encouraging her to have a political career, and even said to Bill Clinton during their golf game, you know, you may think Hillary is qualified and has the experience to become president, but so, you know, what about Michelle? She could be president, too.
Oh, man. Edward Klein with us here. It's Riley and Scott on WROK. You mentioned Valerie Jarrett, and you spent a lot of time on her in The Amateur, too. How much power she has, how close she is to the president. What is her move, perhaps, in these last years in office or post-presidency? Could she run for something? Is she happy just to be as close as she is to the president and Michelle Obama?
Well, she's told Michelle that if Michelle runs for office, she will quit her job in the White House and become her campaign manager, because they're really connected at the hip, these two women. They're the very best friends. They spend a huge amount of time together. Valerie is the only White House official who goes on vacations with the Obamas. She goes up to dinner with them from the West Wing into the residency every night. She has enormous influence, and I think her future rests entirely on Michelle's future. And whether Michelle runs for office or whether she decides to give a lot of speeches and make a lot of money and write books and travel, you're going to see these two women going off into the sunset together after Obama leaves the White House.
Blood Feud is the book. Edward Klein, the author, with us here for another minute or two. It's Riley and Scott on WROK. It is the definition of a page-turner. Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and linked up on our Twitter feed this morning, too. Let's circle back to Hillary for a minute or two. On the health question, Dick Cheney got in trouble for saying that health is going to be a big issue coming up, and you know, she's going to have to release health records. And you know, in defending her, Bill Clinton said it took her 6 months to recover from this head injury. What's the true status of Hillary Clinton's health? Will we know? Will it be made public if she runs for president?
Well, I think was it Dick Cheney or
it wasn't
Karl Rove?
You're right. I was confused. You're right. Karl Rove. Yes.
I think it was Karl Rove who said, you know, this is a legitimate question, and I couldn't agree more, because after Hillary fainted in December of 2012, she had a thorough examination by her physicians. And these physicians told Bill Clinton, and told him in the presence of others, that Hillary has a heart valve problem. The valve is not operating efficiently. And they discussed having a heart valve replacement surgery, which would have been a major surgery. They decided against it, but Bill was told, she has to be monitored very closely for the rest of her life. Now, this is the kind of medical information that the American public is entitled to by anybody who has ambitions to run for president.
So Hillary has these potential health issues. You mentioned, the book is not selling quite as well as many have hoped. Is there Hillary fatigue? Is there a lack of...
Hillary's book is not selling as well.
Right.
Yes, that's true.
Yours is selling very well. Her book is not selling very well. So is that Hillary fatigue? Is there a lack of interest in her candidacy? Will Bill and others look at it and say, well, what's happening here? Or will nothing stop the Hillary train to run for president in 2016?
You know, Hillary's problem is Hillary. When she goes on television, is interviewed by Diane Sawyer or CNN, Miss Anandpur, or anyone else, the real Hillary comes out, and it's a irritable, angry, defensive person who does not like the media, who feels put upon, who feels entitled. And all of this comes through on television. You cannot hide your personality on television. The camera sees into your soul. And what we're seeing in Hillary's book rollout is the real Hillary, and the Hillary who lost in 2008 against Obama. I think she's a very vulnerable candidate. I think within the Democratic Party, she's probably light years ahead of everybody else for the nomination. But I think a good, strong Republican candidate can beat her in 2016.
The book is Blood Feud. It is available now. The Clintons versus the Obamas. Edward Klein is the author. The Amateur was fantastic. This one is just wonderful, too. And a page-turner, too. You'll fly through this one. Edward Klein, thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning. Best of luck with the book.
Scott, it's my pleasure, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Edward Klein there. Blood Feud is the book, out today.